Here's answers to a bunch of reasons why the Pope is unbiblical in 90 seconds.
There's no indication of Peter being the prime bishop in Rome.
Ignatius, Irenaeus, Clement, Tertullian, all of them wrote that Peter was the bishop of Rome.
And there's also no indication of Rome itself being the governmental center for the entire church.
I mean, sure, but Rome was the hub of the world. If you wanted to spread the gospel to all nations, Rome was the only place that was connected to all nations. That's where the term all roads lead to Rome comes from.
In 50 AD, we see that Claudius commanded that the Jews would all leave Rome.
And they didn't. This is why to this day you can go to Rome and see the catacombs where the Christians would hide. Also, 14 years later in 64 AD, Nero decided to burn down all of Rome and blame it on the Christians. Wouldn't have made sense if there were no Christians there.
They would have killed him along with the Jews should he have stayed.
Which they did. They literally killed him in Rome.
Paul writes his epistle to the Romans in the mid-century. He does not address the letter to Peter. He does not even mention Peter in the letter.
Peter and Paul hated each other. In fact, in Galatians 2:11, we see Paul actually rebuke Peter. However, 2 verses earlier, he acknowledged that Peter is one of the foundational leaders of the church. Paul respects Peter's role, but they butt heads. And that's why Peter isn't mentioned, because Paul has a history of being petty. Not gonna lie, kind of relatable.
First church council in Jerusalem in Acts 15, it was James, not Peter, who presided over it.
This is true, but it's because councils are always presided over by the local bishop. If the council is in Jerusalem, then the bishop of Jerusalem, James, would preside over it. What we do see in Acts 15 is a bunch of arguing, and then Peter stands up and says his point, and all the conversation afterwards isn't, hey, what are we going to do? It's, how are we logistically going to accomplish this goal, especially by James and Paul.
All throughout the Old Testament, we see that the rock...
It's correct that when you read the scripture that says, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church in Attic Greek, it does seem like, based off of the gender declination of the words, that the rock that is being referred to is Peter's faith, not Peter directly. However, the gospel is written in Koine Greek, not in Attic Greek, and when read in the accurate form, it's pretty clear that the rock being referred to is Peter himself.